There's a tale of two protests really now. The anti-racist mobilization versus the far-right riots. And yesterday the streets of the United Kingdom bore witness to the stark contrast between these two movements, one grounded in solidarity and peace and the other in violence and fear. And across the nation, thousands of people responded to the call of Stand Up to Racism and other anti-fascist groups to stand together against the rising tide of far-right extremism that has marred the country in recent weeks. In stark opposition to the violent riots instigated by far-right factions, these very small groups of people who rioted and caused so much damage and so much fear, these anti-racist demonstrations, much bigger, have been held in 50 towns and cities without danger, exemplifying the power of peaceful protest. London, Edinburgh, Cardiff, Belfast were among the cities that saw significant turnouts. In Belfast alone, up to 15,000 people gathered for an anti-racism rally organised by United Against Racism, wielding placards that declared their support for migrants and their opposition to racism. The rallying cries of "When migrants' rights are under attack, what shall we do? Stand up, fight back," echoed throughout the day, resonating deeply with the crowd. Meanwhile, in London, an estimated 5,000 protesters gathered outside the Reform UK headquarters in Victoria. This location, which is little more than a dead letter drop for far-right messaging, because the actual head office of Reform UK is outside London and hidden, became a focal point for expressing outrage against figures like Nigel Farage, accused of spreading racist rhetoric or of asking questions that lead to racist rhetoric. The Assembly then moved to Trafalgar Square, where speakers took aim at public figures like Elon Musk for their role in enabling the spread of disinformation on social platforms. One speaker from Stand Up to Racism captured the spirit of the day, saying, "After being outnumbered, we turned it around this week." The sentiment was echoed by Samira Ali, who in her closing speech said, "We feel like we have turned the tide. It's a testament to our mobilization that they failed to come out." The overwhelming turnout at these protests indeed stands as a testament to the power of collective action in confronting hate. The contrast between these peaceful movements and the far-right riots that had erupted earlier is stark. The riots, ignited by a tragic and horrific knife attack in Southport that claimed the lives of 3 young girls, was marked by a surge of violence. Houses with hotels housing migrants in Rotherham and Tamworth became targets of this rage, and far-right groups exploited the tragedy to foment disorder across the country, attacking mosques. The National Burning Bins, attacking the police. The National Police Chiefs Council reported that 779 people had been arrested in connection with the riots, with 349 people already charged, and some already in prison. The rioters' actions, ranging from possessing weapons like knuckle dusters to stirring up racial hatred through social media, highlights the dangerous and divisive ideology driving these movements. And look at the video of those riots. So many of the men, and predominantly men, fat men, so many of the men look happy. It's a day out. It's a day with the lads. Bash up a copper. Attack a migrant centre. Scream. In stark contrast, the anti-racist protests were defined by unity, by hope, and a collective resolve to reject the hatred propagated by the far right. Wayman Bennett, who's the co-convener of Stand Up to Racism, emphasised this difference. Today shows we can turn the tide against the far right and the racists. Up and down the country, people have come together, organised, marched to send a clear message. The far right aren't welcome. We won't let them attack Muslims, migrants, refugees. Our message is one of hope, solidarity and unity. And despite the peaceful nature of these protests, there remains a clear awareness among anti-racist activists that the struggle is far from over. Sabi Dalu, also a co-convener of Stand Up to Racism, had a sobering reminder. We've defeated fascist and racist movements before. We will defeat them again. But there's no room for complacency. We've seen fascist riots for over a week. We will keep mobilizing until we push back these racist and fascist street thugs. The GB News put out reports yesterday, starting in the square where the Reform UK dead letter box was located, and they tried to put out the idea that this was an angry crowd. It really wasn't. However, of course, angry people can appear out of nowhere. One did, and I'm sure that made GB News' day. The police very quickly moved in to quieten him, and he believed that he'd been touched by one of the GB News reporters or one of the GB News team. Don't touch me, don't touch me. And I don't know what the truth of that is, but it's all caught on camera. Yesterday's events serve as a powerful reminder of the contrasting paths society can take. On the one hand, you've got a peaceful protest, no matter what GB News tries to suggest, advocating for equality and justice, and another of violence driven by fear and hatred. As the UK continues to grapple with these opposing forces, the importance of sustained mobilisation, of vigilance, and the unwavering commitment to anti-racism cannot be overstated. The success of yesterday's demonstrations by the anti-racism lobby shows that the tide can indeed be turned, but it requires the continued effort of all who stand against the far right's dangerous ideology in order to ensure that the truth comes out. Britain is not an intolerant nation. Britain is a tolerant, welcoming, and unified nation. We need to work on that unity. We need to work on the principles of solidarity, and we need to work on inclusion and integration.